Well, I am back in Thailand. I went to Australia for 2 weeks. I put a video up on the channel here and basically just had a bit of a rant about the cost of living and everything like that, which I know is a bit somber and depressing in this time of sort of year, especially leading up to Christmas, where it should be, a happy time, spending time with family and all that sort of stuff. I got the opportunity to stay at my parents' house, which was fantastic for those 2 weeks. I went and saw my grandparents as well. They're doing pretty well. I mean, they're in their 80s and they've got more energy than me, and I'm in my mid 20s. So, I mean, that to me is just inspiring. And they just live on a farm, and they, they've got that freedom where, they are remaining active, which is really good to see. Both my nan and gramps are really good. And then, my grandma as well, saw her. She's funnily enough, she's actually really she lives pretty close to my parents' house as well. So like a hop, skip and a jump, literally, which is pretty amazing. To have family so close as well. And, being back for the 2 weeks in Australia since being in Thailand for essentially a year, I have to admit, I feel like an alien in my own sort of country. You know what I mean? Like, I'm Australian citizen, I've got Australian passport, but, I returned back and, I had to, get my bearings back a little bit, without sounding too dramatic, of course. It was just like, getting off the plane and, I got back late afternoon, on a Monday, I think it was. And essentially had 2 weeks in Perth, went down south to see my, Nana and Gramps, which is like a 4-hour drive in the car. And then, basically just, I guess I was looking for a job as well in that time because, being away for a year, got to get back into work. I'm sort of just trying to weigh up like what path to go down. And I think for me personally, working for a big company would be the one to go for. It's funny, I walked away from my last job thinking I'm never going to work for anybody else again. And then here I am looking for another job. But I think, for me personally, I have a couple of goals I need to sort of tick off and achieve. And I think at the moment, working at a big company will probably satisfy me for those needs and, help me achieve those goals that I have set out. Returning back to Australia, I don't know if you guys know, wherever you're watching this, the Australian house market is literally, it's gone downhill massively. And what I mean by downhill, it's gone up in price. So people can't actually afford basic essentials, cost of living's up and housing's up. And coming back, I definitely noticed a lot of people, like, it was just written on their face, like stress and a little bit of anger as well. Western Australia is where I'm from. Tailgating, like people racing to where they want to be in their car, like basically driving the doors off their cars. It's pretty apparent to me, like, that is what's like on their minds. It's funny, if you're not talking about the weather in Western Australia, you're talking about cost of living and house prices, and sadly that was my take on it in the 2 weeks that I was there. So and I think because the interest rates haven't eased as well. So I think people that currently do have a house, they're probably not feeling as lucky as if someone who doesn't have a house, because one, they are struggling to pay their mortgage, and then probably two, they've got, if they've got a family, they've got mouths to feed, where, for me, I'm, childless, so I don't have any dependents, which is really, obviously, I guess, fortunate. What else did I learn? I think I learned that, the way of living in the West is completely different to over here. I'm not saying Bangkok is the answer to your problems. I'm not saying you've got to go overseas to find yourself. This was not really a trip. I think I've explained in previous videos, coming over here wasn't really for that. It was literally just to reset my life, to sort of go, well, maybe I change industries for jobs, because previously I'd been in the automotive industry for quite a while. 65 plus hour weeks was like the way I'm used to working. And it was just a bit of a drag. Like, you know, Monday to Saturday, and then like I'd have Sunday to like, you know, to recover a bit, and then do it all again. And you know, retail, it sort of falls under that retail banner. It's not business to business, automotive selling, but you know, you're meeting a lot of people, you feel a bit drained, and that's why I just wanted to come over here and reset and just see world through different sets of eyes. And I've definitely come back with different sets of eyes, and I think of different set of values as well, because you know, in the West, we really praise wealth. We praise having more possessions, bigger house, flashy car, and toys, motorbikes, jet skis, whatever, and boats. But yeah, at the end of the day, like, you got to understand, if you're in that system of working a 9 to 5, whatever, or just, you know, in that system of working full stop, the more possessions that, from what I found being over here, the more possessions that you have, the more that you have to work to pay those off, or to, you know, to keep on top of things. And a lot of people in the Western world, because of the Kim Kardashians and the social media and all that nonsense, you know, people literally are dressing like they're rich, but when you check their bank accounts, or in reality, what the money they have, the disposable cash they have, is just so very little, you know. And so it, you know, being over here just reminded me of just investing, and also, you know, there's a lot of that Australian dream, like, you've got to buy a house, and if you haven't bought a house, then what the fuck are you doing? And it's like, well, you don't have to buy a house. At the end of the day, a house is a bit of a money pit. It is a bit of a liability, even though it will appreciate over time. It's not like a car, which will depreciate over time because you put Ks on it and etc. But, you know, essentially, you know, what happens if the water heater breaks, or there's a leak in the shower, or there's a leak in the roof? You know, those things at the end of the day are a bit of a liability. But if you buy a house for an investment purpose, and you use it as a tool to make money, then then you rent where you live, then that would make more sense. However, unfortunately, because we are letting foreign investors come in and buy Australian property, and on top of that, we do have Australian citizens and people abroad that don't even live in the country, treat Australian homes like, yeah, money-making machines. And even our PM, you know, who bought a $4.8 million property and then paved a road to it using taxpayers' money, you know, that to me just, I mean, every government is corrupt. You know, if you haven't worked that out since COVID, wake up, because they don't have your back. They don't really want anything good to happen for you. They just want you to, I guess, submit, and they want to cancel free speech. And you know, that's something that I've definitely learned coming back for 2 weeks in Australia. There's like, oh, you can't say this, you can't say that. You know, there's a lot of suppression. And you know, I think another thing that really put the icing on the cake for me just recently, hearing that, you know, the Australian government passed a bill to ban under 16s from being on social media. But you know, some people go, oh, that's a great thing, you know, like, we should be banning kids under 16 to not have social media because it's so toxic. Yeah, no, it is toxic. However, if it was me, and if I had a child, and you know, he was coming to high school sort of stage of his life, no way would I let him have an iPhone, let alone Samsung, Galaxy, whatever you call them. I would give him a phone that's like a dumb phone, like an old Nokia or something like that. Just make phone calls or text messages. That's it, literally. And like, you know, we're at a stage now where it's getting beyond, like, it's just obvious that the government, they don't want us to know too much, because at the moment we've got so much information at our disposal. Ever since 2013, or maybe 2010, I'd say, was when we had real peak information. We had Facebook really ramping up then as well as YouTube, I suppose, this platform. So yeah, it's just one of those things where you just, it's become increasingly clear to me that they don't want any sort of free speech. And even in the US, like, for example, you know, love him or hate him, Russell Brand, he's now moved to Rumble because he's had some of his content removed from YouTube, and so he has to now go onto Rumble because they're not going to copyright or whatever that, or delete his content. Same with David Icke. He was a renowned sort of conspiracy theorist as well. Alex Jones is another one. Love him or hate him, same sort of thing. But, you know, people that tell the truth either get cancelled or they somehow find their way up being dead. I mean, that is just essentially what happens. And, you know, that's the way the Australia government is heading. And coming into election next year, I definitely know who I'm voting for. I'm not going to really advocate or tell you who I'm going to vote for, but it's not who you think. I'm just over the Reds and the Whites. The Reds and the Blues. And, you know, I'm just, you know, they're in it together. WEF, they know exactly what they're planning. The New World Order is not such a secret, especially when you got rappers like Eminem putting it in his songs and stuff like that. It's just, you know, clear to me that they do subliminal messaging, thinking that they're like, oh yeah, they don't know the dumb sheep. Well, yeah, you know what? Fuck you, we do know. So that is my message there. And, you know, we're not going to stand for it. You know, you know what, like the whole COVID thing as well, like that thing was just shit house. And, you know, I'm not here to bitch about it. I'm just saying, like, that for me and for many other people, you know, we don't really talk about it, but I tell you what, if we had like an hour where all these people would come together and tell, or even longer than that probably, come and tell their stories about what happened to them during COVID, you'd hear a lot of people that weren't able to go back to their families in another country because of lockdowns. They miss people dying, obviously, their loved ones. And they had probably people affected by the AstraZeneca as well. So, you know, rightly or wrongly, that was a clear hoax, terrible unfortunate thing, but you know, again, it's happened. But yeah, coming back to Thailand has been seriously, I guess, invigorating, but I definitely know now what I must do when I go back to Australia. And I must admit, like, I've just been so grateful, and I guess to have saved up the way I did for a solid year. Really, I worked really hard in that year to have the disposable income to come over here and sit around basically and occasionally do YouTube, you know, was pretty cool, you know. And I must admit, I've found some topics that I want to talk about on here and stuff like that. And, you know, I guess it's really important to have a creative outlet. That's another thing I want to say to you guys, because like at the end of the day, you know, we only have X amount of time on this planet. And, you know, when you do die, people aren't gonna remember what you had or how much money you had. That's artificial. It comes and goes. But what they will remember is how you made them feel. And you know, if I can continue to make videos on here and sort of inspire you guys, you know, basically you can learn from my mistakes, because hey, I'm not perfect. And you know, if there's someone younger than me that, you know, has a good head on their shoulders and wants to make the most of life, you know, invest their money, do things well, don't go out and party or do any sort of any drugs that you know, aren't productive to your well-being and overall health, then yeah, I'm here to, you know, to share what I've learned thus far. I don't know everything, but you know, what I do know is that we are on this planet for a very short period of time, and you know, it is what you make of it. And you literally can do whatever you would like to do, you know. Yeah, we have these limiting beliefs, you know. Oh, you know, I'm this race, so you know, I'm already at a disadvantage, or I'm this height, you know, girls won't love me, mate. Or girls, like, come on, don't think like in a box, you know what I mean? Like, sorry, that's not a box, that's a circle. Don't think in a box, think outside of it. And you know, you can't go wrong, because at the end of the day, we're all here on this planet and we've got a, you know, particular skill set. We might be good at this as opposed to that, but it's the part of life that's exciting, because you get to uncover that as you sort of mature or you get a bit older. You know, I always thought I had things worked out, like I knew exactly what I was going to do after school. And I guess I got a job straight out of high school, and you know, I fell into that sort of sales, you know, selling cars, and it was good. I mean, I was like, holy shit, I'm making all this money. And I never had so much money in my life. And then, you know, I didn't really know what to do with it. And I was a bit like, well, I kind of want to get a cool V8 ute, which is like a utility, but like a sports ute here in Australia. In America, you had like the Dodge SRT10, which is one of the fastest utes, 10 cylinder. But yeah, it was basically like a V8 ute, and I thought, I was like, oh my god, the girls are gonna love this. And at the end of the day, no one cared. Like, it was just me. I liked it, and that was it. I did car cruises and all that sort of stuff. But then what I realized is yeah, it was cool. But then after 8 months, I was bored of it. I was genuinely bored of it. And yeah, it's just another thing, like when you become a slave to the system. I'm really happy with that experience. Don't get me wrong. I'm really grateful that I could actually say I wanted something and I ended up getting it. But then at the end of the day, you realize it's actually not all that crash hot. It's not what we were actually here for. But it was a learning curve for me. I was definitely not, I had the money, but I was definitely not at the stage where I was like, okay, yeah, I better start, investing and put it into a house, which, I probably could have, but I was really not there yet, in terms of wanting to have such a huge commitment, such as buying a house, at that age anyway. But, I definitely was, not money hungry, but like I got addicted to that sugar hit of receiving, a relatively nice paycheck. And then, what I realized was, we all have decisions and choices in life. And sometimes with, I guess, relationships as well, you uncover parts of yourself that you wouldn't really know unless you've got to have some heartbreak or some disappointment in your life, right? Like, you're going to learn more from losing than winning. I love winning. I love competing. I love all that sort of stuff. But then after a series of disappointments, I said to myself, I was like, you know what? I can't be fucked. You know what I mean? Or I got a real negative attitude around it. I wasn't able to like pick myself up and go, you know what, Bailey, this is life. You're not always going to get what you want. You think, you're bulletproof, or you're this or you're that, or, things are going to hit hard in life. And that's what Rocky Balboa says in Rocky, I can't remember, Rocky 5. Nothing hits harder than life. But anyway, like, if you're a young man watching this, I can speak to you directly. If you're a young woman, it's a little bit hard for me to articulate, but, you're going to have, she wasn't really my first girlfriend, but she was a girl that, I truly did love, not like, but love. And then, I got reckless with it, and love is such a precious thing because, when you really do love someone, you do open up, you do really, I guess, uncover parts of yourself to that other person that you probably wouldn't to anybody else, but also, that parts of yourself that you don't really want to, I guess, let the whole world know, be vulnerable to, you know what I mean? Like, it's an interesting one. And then, yeah, so, but yeah, sometimes you got to really think hard about choices because, I personally threw that one down the toilet pretty hard. I've been with her for about 2 years, and yeah, I don't know. Again, I think I got, I don't want to say bored, but it was just like, it was just, how do I say it? It was, I guess, getting a bit monotonous, but also I think I sort of knew that she was going to go down her own path, and I really didn't want to follow her, which, she was going to move overseas, and, part of me wasn't really ready for that either. I don't know what it was. Maybe I was scared about something, I guess, but I sort of saw the writing was on the wall, and I sort of retreated back a bit, and then that was that. But I was actually upset about it. I definitely was. She was an amazing girl. We're not perfect by any means, but she definitely taught me to I guess empathize with people a little bit more, and she made me more aware of mental health, and also you got to take care of yourself and your mental health. And sometimes I feel like in life you can either be the perpetrator or the victim, and I think in that instance I was the perpetrator. And what I mean by that is, like, I don't think I made her life, I didn't really help her that much that I probably could have. And I think she was struggling with things mentally, and I probably didn't help her in that a lot. And that, you know, I guess is my learning curve as being a young man at that stage of my life. But looking back, I wish I probably helped her a little bit more. But we had a fantastic time together, and I certainly do wish her well now, thinking back to that. And then from there, it was just a lot of partying. I think when you sort of get to that stage in life, and you probably think, I think I was in that mindset. I was in a very I wasn't in a very in abundance mindset, right? So in abundance mindset is like, there's limitless potential, limitless opportunity, limitless good things to come your way. Just because one door closes doesn't mean another one won't. And so I think I went down this path of a lot of nitty gritty bad sort of feeling, and I wasted a lot of money. I wasted a lot of money during that time. It was a lot of hard hitting. But it's funny. I've noticed the cycle, but it's not a cycle that, once you notice cycles, you can sort of go, okay, well, this is what I've been doing in the past and currently. This is what I'm going to do now from here to now. So from here to 12 months time to rectify that. But I think I was at that stage where, young and dumb and just didn't really know. I was like, okay, well, I can still sell cars, right? That's fine. But what else am I going to do? Am I going to upskill? Am I going to, go to uni? So I went to uni, did that for a year, didn't like it. And then I sort of found acting, and then I went to an acting school for 2 years. And in the time of doing that, I was working 3 jobs just to pay for it. I think it was $12,000 Australian per year. And that was a real tough couple of years as well. I left obviously car selling because I couldn't do that full time as well as this course. And then it was just a lot of emotional. I was with people that were I think lost, and then I was like, fuck, what am I doing here? I actually do like acting to a degree because I never did in high school, because I went to an all boys school and it was seen as sort of, a little bit camp doing it. But hey, it is what it is. I did it out of school, and I met some people there, which, to be honest with you, I don't really keep in contact with anymore. Just because they've done different things, and some of them don't even act anymore. So, I went and did that. I learned a lot about myself. More importantly, I think it was a lot of more sort of self-development that I learned those 2 years than anything else. A bit of acting skill as well, which has definitely helped me with my sales career. But I think looking back, it was sort of a time of really trying to strip away the mask or the person that I thought I was. And I remember one guy that went there, and he was a really cool guy. I can't remember his name. I think his name Jake or something. Yeah. And he was really cool. Just one of those cool, surfer sort of dudes, really laid back and just wouldn't even hurt a fly, I don't think. And, so the lady that was running the course, the acting school, she was like, oh, you're so apathetic. You just have this apathetic body, and which looking back, he probably did a little bit, but I probably wouldn't have branded him like that. I just think he was sort of, I think he was pretty comfortable in his skin. He was a bit like a whatever sort of guy, but he didn't come across to me as someone that, thought he was better than anybody else, or he was certainly not arrogant. And, I could sense that, that really took him by surprise. I mean, it took me by surprise. I think one of the comments she made to me was oh, you got to get more emotional, got to get more vulnerable. Which, it's well, hang on a sec, I haven't seen you get emotional or vulnerable. Which she never did. So yeah, it's interesting what people see you as, or they try and emote. And I think, she was jabbing at me trying to get a response. but I just never gave her the response she wanted. And it was just complete mind games. I'm like, oh, I got to get out of here, you know. So I did 2 years of that with my tails between my legs. I left. I mean, I had a lot of, I guess, I had nothing to be ashamed about. I did 2 pretty big plays, like lead roles, and I got through them, and you know, I learned a lot about myself and other people, I suppose. And then, yeah, like after that, I went back to car selling, and that was when I was like, I don't think going back, you know, I mean, I went back to it because I knew about it. Like I knew how to sell cars and how to make quick money, but I sort of knew I was walking a tightrope. I even thought about starting my own dealership at one point, because I worked, after working at a, you know, large dealership for just under a year, I went to see if I could, like, you know, maybe start my own dealership. But then I worked for a guy there, won't disclose obviously the business or his name, but yeah, he just, you know, I was like, do I really want this sort of lifestyle? He had no life. He was working, you know, 24/7, as you would have to, owning your own business. I totally understand that. I'm not against hard work, but I was like, do I really want this lifestyle? Not really. And this was just after COVID had basically finished, and after everything that we went through during that time, I think I was like, I really need to get out and like see the world. But I didn't. I did another year of selling cars after that, for Mercedes, and then yeah, I did a full year of that, and then saved up, you know, a sizable amount, and then yeah, I found myself here in Thailand. So that's a bit of my background, but like, yeah, basically what I'm trying to say is, in that summary, is like, guys, if you are sort of, you know, just leaving school, or like maybe 22 and under, don't go out and party and waste your money on you know, drinking drugs and all that sort of stuff. It's just a waste of time. And you know, if you can do something that gives back creatively, or if you have a passion about something, definitely start a YouTube channel. Like there's no right or wrong. You know, that you're gonna have heartbreak over a girl or a guy. That's just life. You're gonna have ups and downs. You're gonna have, you know, people that are coming in to, you know, unsettle you or tell you you're this or you're that, and trying to fit you into a box that, you know, sometimes people like you and me, we don't want to be in a box. We want to be, I guess, very adaptable within our surroundings, to be able to be put anywhere, any place, and to survive and to fight our way through things. And, you know, that is probably a common theme that when I look back, there was some dumb shit I've done. There's some absolute dumb shit I've done. Don't get me wrong there. I am not a saint. I've done some pretty ordinary things in terms of just, you know, dumb stuff. But I have fought my way through things. I have seen different sides of human beings that, you know, working in a car yard, you're dealing with some interesting characters, interesting customers, interesting colleagues, and it's all mind games and trying to step on each other's heads. And that's the Western world as a whole, you know, that I could really see, especially with the high rate of immigration. It's only going to get worse in terms of competing for jobs and all that sort of stuff. And you know, the government just using it to, you know, plug a cork in a boat to stop it sinking. It's you know, it's basically an artificial way to fix things, which just, you know, it's not sustainable. So yeah, this election this year in May for Australia is going to be pivotal. And you know, I'm not going to go into politics and all that sort of stuff, but yeah, having seen Trump and everything that's been happening there, you know, things are going to start getting a bit saucy in the world economy, especially with the tariffs with China, and especially with BRICS. You know, BRICS are challenging Trump. He said he's going to put 100% tariffs on all those BRICS countries that are going to oppose the US and Donald Trump. So yeah, it's literally getting a bit dicey, just a little bit dicey. But I think as human beings and as, you know, people that want to live in a free world, free speech is obviously number one priority. Number two is basically, no fake news. We want the truth, you know, and I know Trump says fake news, but like there's literally so much BS in the media. And COVID obviously was another prime example of that. And, you know, it's just one of those things that, you know, coming back to Thailand is, I mean, currently in Australia, we've got Woolworths workers on strike, being underpaid and being coerced under AI, and they don't want to do that anymore. Basically, AI is coaxing them to tell them when to or how long they should unpack boxes and pack boxes onto trucks. So basically, they're saying no to that, and they're striking. And basically, Woolworths shelves in Melbourne, I think it was, are literally stripped bare. Like, there is nothing there because no one wants to work for Woolworths. But is it any surprise when their CEO was basically, you know, price gouging and pocketing more money than he should for his, you know, yearly bonus and all that sort of stuff. So, you know, I personally, when I went back for 2 weeks, I literally shopped at my big shop at Aldi. And then if I needed to do like a little top-up shop, maybe I'd just duck into Coles like really quickly and just grab it. But yeah, I mean, IGA is another one, but IGA typically is a bit more expensive, but they are independently owned. So maybe I'd rather support local business than go to Coles. So like, yeah, if you guys are in Australia watching this, or even if you're thinking of coming to Australia, literally just go to Aldi, ALDI, to shop, and literally just go to IGA to shop. Coles and Woolworths, we are literally wanting a reform over that, because over here in Thailand, you go to like a 7-Eleven and then you go into like, you know, a mall where they have, you know, everything that you could possibly want. Pretty much everything in there is like the same price, give or take. Whereas if you go to like a Coles or a Woolworths, you know, because it's all centralized pricing, it goes through those two main businesses. It's forced this massive price hike, and then they put like sales special stickers over the original price, but there is no special. It's all just, you know, you see the yellow and the red and you think, oh, it's on special, but then when you flip it up and you see the little price underneath, it's like maybe 20 cents different or exactly the same. There is no special. So bear that in mind, guys. If you are literally a savvy shopper like me, just be careful, because yeah, the 2 weeks that I was there, I definitely saw, like, I just couldn't believe it. Like, I think the eggs were like $14. I remember seeing like a 6-pack of eggs. Sorry, a 12-pack of eggs was like $14. I just couldn't believe it. You know, over here I can get a 12-pack of eggs for literally $1.50 Australian. I just cannot believe it. You know, the state, I mean, I had to talk with my grandpa, so he's like, what is he now? 86. He's 86 years old, and he said to me, Bailey, I literally don't know what to say about your future. And I was like, oh shit, yeah, I know I didn't go to uni, but what do you mean? He's like, no, not that. I'm talking about your future for, you know, if you want to start a family, how are you going to be able to afford a house at the current housing market? And I said, yeah, well, I know it's not fantastic. And he said, cost of living, I've never seen it this bad. It is getting worse. And I was like, oh, gee, that's pretty big thing to say for an 86-year-old who, in my opinion, would have seen everything. So yeah, when I literally heard him say that to me, I was like, oh God, like, yeah, maybe it is pretty bad. I mean, it is bad, but you know, when you have someone that, you know, is more senior and has seen a lot, you know, in his lifetime, you know, for him to say that, I'm going, yeah, well, we probably got to be a little bit careful. You know, we are in a silent recession. That's what he said also. He said, you know, the silent recession is upon us, and, you know, immigration is just, you know, plugging a cork in a leaking boat and hoping it doesn't sink. Well, we are sinking, basically. You know, and it's not just here in Australia. It's in Canada. You know, they've had exorbitant, you know, immigration levels in Canada. And their housing market's pretty the same, or yes, roughly the same. And then you got the UK that is like in literal turmoil. Like there's like riots, protests in the street, people glassing houses or throwing brick through windows, burning cars, flipping cars, you know, lighting cars up on fire. Like there's a guy called Wesley, I can't remember his last name, on YouTube. I was watching it yesterday because it just came up on my feed just like randomly. And I watched one of his videos and I was like, that is literally scary. And, you know, the UK at the moment, because of their, you know, high immigration and weak borders, similar to that of America, but just, we'll talk on the UK just now, you know, literally seeing people just go, I want to get out of the UK. And like, they are like, you know, like native, I guess, UK people, British people. And they want to leave because there's people that have just forced their way in or been sold the dream. Come to the UK, we'll give you housing, but they're literally forced to sleep in like a suburban park next to a main road. And I think it was like Wayfair, like it's a really upmarket place in London. All these immigrants are literally parked like in a park camping, and I just couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe my eyes. It's like, what is the world coming to? Like I understand people want to leave war-torn countries, and they want to go to Western country because it's safer, it's cleaner, it's, you know, I guess the government has like said, oh, we'll give you more housing. But when it's at the sake of their own citizens, like when it's at the sake of the UK citizens, their own citizens, and when it's at the sake of Australian citizens, which, you know, they're struggling already, that is when there's a problem. That is when there is a fractured sense of reality, because, you know, the entitlement coming from people that have just entered a country saying they want this, and then the people that are living in the country and have done for all their years and many generations are saying, can we just have affordable living for a start, and low costs of you know, of housing, just so we can enter the market. But it's because now that Australia and even parts of the UK, same thing, you know, people from India, people from Nepal, people from Romania, people from I don't know, the Middle East, you know, they're all coming over, buying land, buying property. Same in Australia, and I guess in China, but China's more Australia than UK. You know, they're just running a riot, you know, and it's pretty crazy right now. It's pretty crazy. But yeah, what do you guys reckon? Comment down below, like and subscribe. Yeah, I haven't posted in a while, but thanks so much, guys, if you stuck around and watched the end of this video. Give me some ideas. Comment down below what you think I should be talking about. Yeah, I'm literally just going to be using this channel to like talk about whatever. So if you're subscribing, don't think it's about any certain topic. It's going to be selecting all sorts of topics. So yeah, thanks again, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.